have clicked go live. Hopefully that worked. I don't know that it's been telling me to click go live on the other ones, which is why I'm concerned it's not working. But I can just check. I can simply check. Hello to everybody who is here already. I know that there are at least a couple people here. I am not, I think I put this in the description. I'm not sure exactly how long I'm going to go for today. Probably just a little bit at first, and then I'll take a nap, and we'll see how I feel for tonight. But we'll see. Oh, 15 people already. Amazing. That's more than I thought. I said a few. I was thinking like a couple. Hello, welcome. Welcome. So I have, oh, hello, Uncle Andy, Alexandra. Oh, I see so many people here. Hello. Hello, welcome. So I put the link in the description for Cat Tenbarge's Spitfire News, which you absolutely should subscribe to. Like, as far as I'm concerned, that is admission to watching this live stream, since we are going to be reading her reporting on it. I am a huge fan of Cat Tenbarge. I've talked about her before on the channel. I will talk to her on the channel soon, hopefully. I love Cat. I asked her before she published this if it was okay if I did a research stream and read it once it was up, and she said yes. So that's what we're gonna do today. We love Cat. Cat only just recently, I think this is the first official like publication that she's done with Spitfire News. She did like an introductory one when she announced it, but this is her first piece of reporting, and it's part 1 of 3 that she's doing about the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni thing. I am stoked. I am so happy that Cat Tenbarge is part of this conversation. Already, she has been. She was on the Bit Fruity podcast. I know I think she's also written about it some, but I'm really excited that this is a conversation that Kat gets to be part of, especially because she's going independent and stuff. I think that's great. So I'm just very excited about that. I wanted to read this, and there's also really good information about Jed Wallace in here. I've read the parts about him in the lawsuit as they've come up in the videos, and that's definitely one of the things that people ask me for the most is like, hey, is there anything more about Jed Wallace? And I have not gathered the more about Jed Wallace, even though I know there is. So I thought, instead of like combining this into a Meow Meow research stream, that I would separate them out in titling and thumbnail so that it's easy for people who come in and watch them later. And also, on the topic of people who come in and watch later, sometimes the chat takes a little bit to pop back up for the replay, like the one on the side. I have the chat that's built in. I was trying to figure out how to make it black text with a white background earlier, and it didn't really work. So I know it's a little bit difficult to read the chat on the screen, but hopefully it doesn't always take a long time. But I think it took like 6 hours for the chat to pop up after my most recent live, and I felt bad because I don't want people to have to try to squint, even though I do like having it on the screen at least a little bit. So yeah, if you're watching this in the future and there's no live chat, just know I leave that box checked. It just takes a little bit sometimes. Okay. Love this overlay. First time on a live. Love your content, nuance or nothing. Thank you. Sunny is in the chat. Sunny Diana says Sunny made my overlay for me. I love it so much. It kind of reminds me, I think I said when he first sent it to me, it kind of makes me think Lizzie McGuire a little bit, which I just really enjoy. I think it's very cute. Who's Jed Wallace again? That is going to be answered in this article that we're about to read more than I had already had an understanding of. Jed Wallace is one of the people who was hired alongside the tag agency with Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel to do the smear campaign. Like, he's pretty much the person who's doing the bots and stuff as far as we know, possibly. There's a little more information about that in this article, but yeah, he's the one who's not one of the women, but why this is happening. I'm so glad the Lizzie McGuire thing makes sense. Layout matches your hair and glasses, and that's so cute. Thank you. That is one good thing about leaning so hard into yellow being my favorite color, is like it makes it easy for people to make things for me that I really, really love, because they just have to make it yellow, and then it makes me very happy. You should check out BJ Investigates. Also, that surprise witness. Jed Wallace was in charge of drug testing Bam Margera on a regular basis when he was in a guardianship. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I definitely should check out BJ Investigates. I think that their deep dive is it her? I haven't watched. I don't know the channel. I've only seen the name. But I think that the BJ Investigates deep dive on Jed Wallace has been recommended to me before, and I haven't watched it. I do think I would feel guilty watching that and kind of like taking somebody's ad revenue. So I think if I watch that, I'll probably watch it on my own and then talk about it. But I don't feel guilty about taking the ad revenue for like Baldoni streams and stuff. So I definitely will check it out. We just probably won't do it on like a research stream. Um, Why does it feel like no one else is taking this whole thing seriously as workplace sexual harassment plus the subsequent backlash to speaking out about it? Because Baldoni's team has so effectively reframed it into being a who do you like more? Who do you have more fun hating thing? And people will talk to me and say like that she stole his movie, and Sunny said this in the chat the other day, but like it is not illegal. It's not illegal to it's not to steal somebody's movie. It's a skill issue on the part of the director. I know Kat Tenbarge from my fave podcast, A Bit Fruity. Can't wait to hear what she has to say. Yeah, I love the episodes of A Bit Fruity that Kat is on. I think I love that podcast in general. I think Matt has like the best chemistry with literally anybody that he brings on. But when he and Kat are talking together, there's something kind of magic. Yeah, just curious on your thoughts with Jed with that added detail. I think somebody else also mentioned something about like, I mean, this is kind of a kind of an extrapolation. I'm just like jumping around. But somebody said something about how when Baldoni was saying that he wanted to like deploy the neurodivergent excuse, he said that he wanted to go on like a Dr. Amen podcast or something like that. I think it was Dr. Amen. Maybe it's pronounced Dr. Amen. I don't. These are names that are not familiar to me again. But somebody said that that was a guy who was also involved in like conservatorships and like getting people into conservatorships. Again, I haven't looked into that. And it's kind of a sideways angle at that, but that's interesting. Maybe Baldoni has multiple connections with people who are doing shady things in terms of putting people in conservatorships or guardianships or whatever. I genuinely don't get how you can steal a movie. Yeah, me neither. I keep telling people she could literally be Satan in high heels and he would still be wrong to sexually harass her. Like, it's literally not that hard to understand. Exactly. And people keep coming to me and being like, oh, your videos, you're this aged badly, this aged badly. What could possibly change your mind at this point? And it's like, there's literally nothing. I mean, I've seen the video of the dance scene. I don't think that I don't think that there is anything I could see that would make me think that she was lying, even if I did see a text from her where she was like, I'm going to steal this movie. Like, I don't care. I don't care if she steals the movie. It has been somewhat shocking to see how people I love and respect have been sucked into the hate campaign. Feels like a symptom of the information literacy crisis we have going on in the States right now. I agree. I hate when people use the neurodivergent / autistic excuse. It makes the rest of us look bad. I'm neurodivergent and I don't go around harassing people. Most don't. I would say the majority of neurodivergent people are not running around being predators. And yet people think that it's a really good excuse, and I hate it so much. I just truly hate it. I'm fairly certain. I mean, I don't have the exact statistics off the top of my head, but like I've heard enough people say, right, that like people wow, I just stumbled so much on that. People who are neurodivergent are often more likely, I believe, to be abused. I know that that's the case with people with like personality disorders as well, that they're also very highly susceptible to abuse. So I really don't like, I don't like pointing at anything. I don't like them pointing at that with his ADHD thing. I don't like them pointing at that with, oh, he's in this religion not a lot of people know about. What if the religion is what's making him be a weirdo? It's so weird. BJ uses she, her pronouns as far as I know. Thank you. I'm really disappointed to see Natalie Lawyer Chick posting videos with titles like Blake misleads public. I love Natalie and I expected better. I don't understand where this is coming from, that Blake has done anything to mislead the public. I think that's I like people are running to say that this new detail about the fact that there was another different thing that Jenny Slate complained about with Jamie Heath, and I think that they're saying that Blake misrepresented something, but I really don't think so. Yeah, I think I've been fairly lucky in terms of like I honestly I just don't watch a lot of people's coverage of this. But I've been fairly lucky. I haven't seen too many very recently, like ever since Blake's amended complaint. I don't think I've really seen I haven't seen super bad ones in my sidebar, but I also have been really nervous. Like I've been because I had my disability thing this morning, and like that's over with now, so I'm trying to move on. So I haven't been watching a lot of other people's videos in general, and I also don't tend to watch other people's videos on this Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni thing because I am so goddamn sensitive. But one video I did watch was, of course, the A Bit Fruity podcast episode with Matt and Kat, and we're going to read this article that Kat has published. Hello, I'm late to the Nuance Corner, but very excited to join in. Welcome. Perfectly lined up with work, so it really feels like we're all researching together. I love that. I love doing these research streams so much. I think that they are so fun, and it genuinely, like, it is a level of socialization that I don't get to get otherwise, so I really appreciate everybody who shows up and hangs out when I do these. Their stories mostly line up, too. They both just say there's different intentions behind the actions. Like, I don't care that he isn't attracted to her and is using her as a prop. It's still rude. Yeah. Just checking here. I think being neurodivergent can affect your behavior and make you overstep boundaries more easily, but they're usually also hyper aware of that and very apologetic when they do mess up. Yeah, and we hear about Baldoni being like, and I take accountability and I know I'm growing and changing every day, but he like never, it just doesn't, he's never specific about it. It never feels like he's actually growing. It feels like he just wants to be aware of the fact that he makes mistakes and for that somebody to be like, enough. Yeah. All right. So I'm resizing the wrong one. I need to put myself up in the attic here. Sorry if you can hear my roommates probably. Why am I struggling with this? I was doing this just fine before. Here I am. Okay. All right, I'm in the attic. Kind of cutting the top of my head off. Okay. But not in like a hereditary way. Which topics are we covering today? We are reading this article from Kat Tenbarge about Blake Lively's story that isn't being told. It's easy to manipulate what people see on social media or don't. This is part 1 of 3 of her series about this. It just came out today. And it talks about the Brian Friedman Jed Wallace angle of things, and how they're like suppressing content. I think it's very, very good. I put the link to Spitfire, which is her new independent news platform, and also to this specific article in the description of the live. And she does have like a members only chat and future paywalled stories with the subscription. Definitely, absolutely everybody should sign up. You can sign up for free as well if you don't want to pay for the subscription, but I think like obviously I just love Kat. I think she does really good and important work, and I think especially in terms of stories like this where it's a woman who's being so maligned, like for years now Kat has been the first person that I trust on this kind of thing, which is another reason why, you know, when I saw that she did an article about this, I knew that I wanted to do a research stream for it. Gotta put Ophi in jail again. I respect the hell out of Kat Tenbarge as a journalist. Me too, absolutely. Justin goes in the basement and Ophi belongs in the attic. I'm up here. Okay, so welcome to the first edition of Spitfire News. For the past few weeks, I've been working on a story about media manipulation and misogyny, 2 of the overarching themes in our culture right now. This is part 1, and I have a part 2 and 3 coming. Despite President Donald Trump and his unelected advisor slash chief propagandist Elon Musk actively dismantling the U.S. federal government, millions of Americans are choosing to invest their energy into smearing a famous actress who sued her male co-star and director for workplace sexual harassment and retaliation in January. And I think even if you're not already familiar with Kat Tenbarge, you can see right here, just in these opening paragraphs, why so many of us here who are familiar with Kat Tenbarge respect her so much. Like, that is such an effective framing of what we're actually talking about here. Of course, I always already knew that was how Kat was going to frame it, because I knew that she understood what she was looking at. But again, like, that's just, like, I just love Kat. I love seeing an article about something that I'm passionate about and seeing that Kat wrote it, because I'm always able to trust that she did it correctly. So we'll continue. And of course, this is also going over things that a lot of us are already aware of here, and that we've already been following. But I'm going to read the whole thing. We know this, we remember this, but maybe some of us here haven't been quite as glued. For the past 6 months, social media platforms have been flooded with accounts pillorying Blake Lively. Lively starred in Gossip Girl and It Ends With Us, the Colleen Hoover adaptation that came in number 17 at the worldwide box office in 2024. Lively's lawsuit is against Justin Baldoni, who was previously mainly known for appearing in the CW show Jane the Virgin. He acquired the rights to produce, direct, and star in the movie based on Hoover's best-selling book. Baldoni countersued Lively for defamation. If it sounds like a redux of the smear campaign against Amber Heard that peaked in her 2022 defamation trial against Johnny Depp, that's because this is a new chapter in the same playbook. Baldoni's crisis publicist Melissa Nathan, who Lively is also suing, worked for Depp during the trial. Some of the same YouTubers who have covered the trial through a strictly anti-Heard and pro-Depp lens have been churning out hate videos about Lively, earning millions of views and thousands of dollars. And anti-Lively sentiment has dominated the comment sections on platforms like Reddit and TikTok. Lively's suit alleged that Baldoni and his business partners paid between $75,000 and $175,000 for a social manipulation campaign that included astroturfing, when multiple inauthentic accounts pose as an organic grassroots movement, and boosting online content disfavorable to Lively while suppressing negative content about Baldoni. In August, days after Baldoni and Nathan discussed these strategies and prices in text messages, screenshots were included in Lively's lawsuit, the internet began to writhe and seethe with unbridled hatred for Lively. Really big fan of the way she turned those words. Excellent use of the word pillory. Absolutely. I agree. Yeah, this photo of him and his wife is kind of yucky. I don't know. I don't know why I feel that way. I just don't like it. I hate the way he dressed for this premiere. Like, I just think it's fine for men to wear pink, of course, but I feel like he was wearing pink in a way that just makes it feel douchey, because he was wearing pink because he thought that was going to make him, like, extra vulnerable or whatever. I don't like it. I don't like his pink suit. I'm sure there are plenty of pink suits I could like on plenty of guys who are not Baldoni. Also, when I first scrolled past this, I thought she was smoking a cigarette. And then I was like, don't they not do those things? But she's just blowing a kiss. It looks like somebody photoshopped a cigarette out of her hand, though. This being the next wave of Me Too is so true. I completely agree. We were talking about that in the stream about the Hollywood Reporter article about the Baha'i thing, when they were quoting Lively as saying that she felt like this was the next chapter in the Me Too movement. And I was saying, I think that they said that in a way that was supposed to make it look like she was too big for her britches. But I think that is objectively, unequivocally true. I think that we're going to look back at this in 10 years and we're going to say this and Amber Heard were part of the Me Too thing. What's with the t-shirt under the suit? Yeah. I think he wanted to look like a feminist in that suit. Yes. Yeah. I can't believe that he didn't wear a "This is what a feminist looks like" t-shirt underneath his douchey pink suit. If Blake wore a pink suit, they'd be saying she's not taking abuse seriously. Absolutely. Yeah, really good point. He should try a nice retro hot pink so it's like Miami Vice. Yeah, it's not a good, I almost struggle to imagine what skin tone that color would look good on. It's so like dusty and nasty. Yeah, I hate it. Little flower pin too. Hot pink would look way better. Yeah, like even like this pink on these flowers, like that would look good. Okay, Baldoni, you don't know how to dress. They need to bring him back to create a sim. Okay. In January, after Lively went public with her allegations and Baldoni filed his countersuit, I saw an even bigger swell of online abuse targeting Lively. This time, I also noticed information about members of Baldoni's team being suppressed. This story exposes injustices against people in the entertainment industry and people who are subjected to biased coverage of them online. It is yet another example of the misogynistic response to women reporting sexual harassment and retaliation, which further harms victims and emboldens perpetrators. Today, this cycle of abuse is broadcast to the world as a modern witch trial. Lively's lawsuit also offers a peek behind the curtain in the business of social manipulation, a little understood but widely influential industry that can sway a vocal majority on topics ranging from politics to business to entertainment and beyond. Social manipulation is weaponized by Trump and his allies in their path to destroy the American system of government, only to be received with thunderous applause. These tactics are tested on victims of harassment and abuse. To illustrate that, we begin in the dark recesses of Reddit comments. Ooh, chat's moving fast. Feminism is when guys wear overly short dress pants and no socks, probably. The shirt underneath the suit is see-through mesh. Ew, the tank under is a choice. Hi, Ethical Soprano, welcome. Also, didn't people say Blake's dress at SNL looked like Baldoni's wife's dress at the premiere? Like, no. I think I did see people saying that. Yes. It's like last stream, those guys so impressed with themselves over having a heart on their luggage. He thinks wearing pink is an amazing feminist subversion. He absolutely does. I mean, I guess, and there's some level of, like, anything anybody wears on a red carpet is kind of, like planned and coordinated, and they're thinking about what messages that's sending, but especially thinking about, like, picking out that little dusty pink suit and the mesh shirt for underneath, that is nasty. Oh my god, you're right, that is something they used against Amber Heard. They did. They used to say that Amber was, like, specifically copying Johnny Depp's outfits. That's where they got it. They're just copy and pasting the same script. That's wild. Oh my gosh. That's a really good catch. That's a really good catch, AK. Also, like, I know everybody here in the chat knows this because we all support Amber Heard in the Nuance Corner, but Amber, like, very provably was not copying Johnny Depp's outfits. Like, there are people, I think it was in, like, a Rebecca Watson video specifically that I saw somebody point this out, but, like, there are some of the suits that Amber Heard wore in court are suits that she had worn at, like, public speaking events from years prior. So literally she was wearing clothes she already owned, and people were being like, she's copying Johnny. She's copying Johnny to give him a trauma reaction. Yeah, that was such bullshit. That was wild. That whole thing was so fucking wild. Stuff like the pink suit as his feminist statements is what really baffles me about people buying his whole performative male feminist gig. Yeah, I was so, like, literally the second that he hired this PR firm, I was like, yeah, none of this is convincing to me anymore. But even, like, when I thought that it was, like, uncompelling, I wasn't very convinced by it. I was just like, whatever, it's like, this is just not working for me or whatever. But yeah, I'm a stylist, actually, and you can tell that's just how Amber dresses. Even if you don't follow her closely, she's always been into menswear. Yes, yeah. Also, she looks really, really fucking good in it. She is gorgeous. Imagine thinking Amber had a bunch of cash to spend on mockery outfits. Exactly. Same crisis PR company, same dirty ass tactics. Yeah, and I don't know if this is true or not, actually. So I shouldn't say believe. I should say I have a feeling, I have a hunch, I have a suspicion. I don't know for sure, but I do wonder, because I know Melissa Nathan was involved in the smear campaign against Amber Heard. I have to wonder if Jed Wallace also was, but I don't know if there are actual provable ties to that. But I do imagine Jed Wallace had his fingers in the pie for the Johnny Depp campaign. Or maybe not, though, because I do know a lot of the activity was coming from, like, Saudi Arabia, which Johnny Depp has, like, a relationship with, which is weird. He's, like, a cultural ambassador for them or something. Hello, welcome! Yeah, when I first learned he hired the PR firm, I thought he was such a hypocrite for hiring the same firm as a man accused of DV despite being an advocate. Yeah, I really, really do not think that somebody who actually gave a shit about women's issues would have ever hired somebody. Oh, thank you so much for the super chat. I love the hair, Ophi. Thanks for reading this article. You're so welcome, and thank you. I'm very excited about this haircut. I'm like, it's so much lighter, and it dried so fast when I took a shower earlier. Crackpot, Blake, and Amber are both exceptionally beautiful. I believe that people go after their clothes so hard as a means of humbling them about their appearance. I don't think that is crackpot at all. I think that is just true. I think also, I always bring this up, I bring it up every time, but like, another thing about it with Amber specifically is that Amber is bisexual. I 100% believe that impacts the way that people respond to her. I believe that it impacts how people respond to just the idea of a woman coming forward about abuse in general, even though bisexual women are very much more likely to be abused. Like, there are so many levels on which Blake Lively and Amber Heard are both being punished for being, like, beautiful women, because I think that the issue is not just that they're so beautiful, it's that they're so beautiful and also they don't know their place. They don't know that they're supposed to be subservient. They don't know that they're not allowed to make complaints and get restraining orders and put out cease and desists. So it's like punishing them for being beautiful, and in Amber Heard's case for being beautiful and bisexual, and for not being subservient. Yeah, the goal is humiliation. Yeah, yeah. So glad I managed to catch this live, makes me feel less lonely. Oh, I'm so glad you got here. Thank you. All right. Yeah, we're reading this article that Kat Tenbarge wrote about the Blake Lively story that isn't being told. I read the first little bit already, but we've still got quite a bit of it left to go, and you can absolutely check in the description. Blosh, that is like a bit too much for on a live. Medusini has like a 3 video series that really explains it, but essentially the same deal happened here as with Amber Heard, where Amber Heard made she had a restraining order against Johnny Depp. She later wrote about how she became a public figure representing abuse in an op-ed, and then he sued her for defamation based on the fact that people knew who she was talking about in an op-ed that didn't actually name him. The Medusini video is definitely going to be your best source for this, but like that is why these two things are so similar to a lot of us. It's like people who have already been watching men weaponize defamation like that. Yeah, I think me recommending Medusini is like one of the most predictable things. If there was an Okie dokie bingo card, one of the squares would be recommending that you go watch the Medusini videos about Amber Heard. I'm non-binary, and the amount of know your place pushback I get about that specifically is so wild. People see a woman getting a bit too mouthy and have the urge to tear them down about it. I agree. I completely think so. Yeah. Hello, welcome. Yeah. Okay. All right, perfect. So I'm gonna read a little bit more, but I'm very much enjoying this going in and reading a little bit and then talking and then reading a little bit and talking. So Kat has done research on Reddit specifically. Reddit, and I think they also specifically mentioned TikTok maybe in the lawsuits, but I always think about the "we're crushing it on Reddit" quote. So I was excited that was her headline for this section, because I wanted so much more information on that. So not only in this in like when they were offering the services, they said like full Reddit, full socials. So we have the assumption that they were doing something on Reddit, even though we don't know what. I'm gonna just take a drink and then I'll continue. Lively's allegations were shared most widely via a bombshell December New York Times article. Written in part by Pulitzer Prize winner and Harvey Weinstein reporter Megan Twohy. In her suit, Lively obtained text messages between Baldoni's crisis publicists, Nathan and Jennifer Abel, that outlined a plan to influence the discussion about Lively and Baldoni on social media. Specifically, Lively alleges that Nathan and Abel sought out the services of a fixer named Jed Wallace. A text obtained from Abel's phone said Wallace was working to shift the narrative against Lively and her husband, Deadpool actor Ryan Reynolds, on social media. According to Lively's complaint, on August 9th, the premiere of It Ends With Us, Nathan told Abel that Wallace said, "We are crushing it on Reddit." Fast forward to the end of 2024. In the days following the New York Times piece, I began searching for information about Wallace on Reddit and noticed some of the comments containing his name and business, Street Relations, were being downvoted into oblivion. On Reddit, users can vote up or down on posts and comments, affecting their ranking and visibility. Each post and comment has a number next to it, showing the net value of these posts. When posts and comments are heavily downvoted, the number plunges into the negatives. In comment sections, negatively weighted comments are collapsed, so readers have to manually open them to read them. In December, a Reddit user who also noticed this phenomenon happening with Wallace posted a comment that said, "Let the record reflect, that's Jed Avery Wallace of Street Relations Incorporated. Everyone say hi, Jed Wallace." When I discovered this comment, it had already been downvoted to -82. In another subreddit, the same user posted about their experiment and said the comment had gotten around 10 upvotes before being mass downvoted on the hour. They wrote that their comment about the experiment was also being downvoted. "We should all be smarter about manipulation of the Reddit algorithm, but of course no one will learn," the user added. And we've got screenshots here of these downvoted posts. One is at -82, one is at -5, and one is at -4. I've also seen this. I've also seen this on Reddit. I've seen a lot of like around 30 or so. It's weird. And it's not even that it's all of the, I mean Kat gets into the article, but I also had noticed this. Like it's not even that it's all the stuff about Justin. It's specifically ones that mention either Jed or the lawyer Brian Friedman. Also, having researched Reddit in the academic context, there absolutely needs to be more investigations into what goes on there and how it gets seeded. Yeah, that gets glossed over a lot. In my opinion, it's significant that the Harvey Weinstein reporter herself took this one on. I think so too. And then they're trying to connect Leslie Sloan to Weinstein, I think almost to try to overwrite that, and try to make that be what people think of when they think of the Weinstein connection here, and not that it's the same reporter uncovering the same thing. Yeah, I also purposefully open and closed comments. Kat is so incredible. I'm so grateful for her coverage. Me too. I love Kat. Kat is really, really fantastic journalist. I'm going to continue reading here. The practice of using multiple accounts to upvote or downvote Reddit posts and comments to manipulate their visibility is referred to as vote manipulation or brigading. Users who volunteer as moderators for the various Reddit communities, subreddits, encounter it frequently. In a statement, a Reddit spokesperson told me, "Spam, vote manipulation, and impersonation are strictly prohibited on Reddit. We are constantly monitoring and iterating on our spam and threat detection process to ensure authentic engagement and voting." Between the premiere of It Ends With Us in August and the New York Times story in December, the biggest subreddits for discussing pop culture turned on Lively. They included r/4moi, one of the only subreddits that was largely supportive of Heard. Lively's lawsuit noted that in August, comments on FOMA pushed the narrative that Lively and Reynolds steamrolled Baldoni during production. After the New York Times story, subreddits like r/FOMA had a brief period of reckoning. Comments discussed Reddit manipulation and feeling tricked by Baldoni's PR team. But as Baldoni's lawyer Brian Friedman waged an aggressive media campaign, r/FOMA and other mainstream Reddits reverted right back to criticizing Lively. As I monitored the threads, I noticed that comments supportive of Lively were frequently downvoted below ones that carried water for Baldoni. In lieu of these larger spaces facilitating discussions about the alleged smear campaign, people who were supportive of Lively gravitated toward much smaller, explicitly pro-Lively subreddits. One of these communities cataloged evidence of anti-Lively, pro-Baldoni social media manipulation, some of which was in their subreddit. I interviewed 2 of this subreddit's moderators about the suppression efforts they had observed and experienced. They had already been repeatedly harassed and threatened, so I granted them anonymity to speak and withheld the name of the subreddit. It actually makes us second guess ourselves, because that's what this kind of thing does. It makes you think you're wrong, one of the pro-Lively moderators said. At one point, Reddit intervened on their reports related to a pro-Baldoni subreddit that was created last August, soon after Wallace said they were crushing it on Reddit. The pro-Baldoni subreddit had been directing attacks on the pro-Lively subreddit against Reddit's site-wide rules. The Reddit spokesperson said the company sent a warning to the pro-Baldoni subreddit for community interference. In response to the blatant attacks, the two moderators had documented unusual downvoting and false flagging on comments related to Wallace and Friedman, Brian's lawyer. And then content warning before I get into the next part. We are going to talk about the allegations against Friedman. But we know Kat. We know that that's not going to be like terrible gratuitous detail. So let's see. Yeah, I feel like Megan T would not hurt her reputation if this were fake, if there were no reliable info. I agree. I spend 90% of my time on Reddit in political subreddits. The amount of Russian bots / astroturfing is insane. If Reddit doesn't monitor that, they're not monitoring Blake Lively posts. Yeah, I think so too. I think it sounds good for them to say that they've been looking into it, but I completely doubt that they actually did. In 1986, when Friedman was a student at University of California in Berkeley, he and 2 of his fraternity brothers were accused in a lawsuit of sexually assaulting and battering a 17-year-old girl. Friedman paid a $40,000 settlement to her without admitting liability and said the allegations were made without substantiation. The pro-Lively moderators shared screenshots with me showing that at least half a dozen posts and comments in the subreddit that included links to articles about Friedman's settlement or information about Wallace had been falsely flagged to them as spam and targeted harassment. Their screenshots showed that more than a dozen posts and comments containing the same information were also downvoted into the negatives. On Reddit, if you search the link to this Business Insider article about Friedman's settlement and look at the comments including it, you can see that at least 9 comments across 6 subreddits in the past month containing this link have been downvoted into negative values ranging from around -10 to -30. We made these posts and literally watched as they were downvoted, one pro-Lively moderator told me. They would have 20 plus upvotes and we just watched as they went to 0 within 15 minutes. It was very, very quick. And then we've got these 13, minus 13, -8, -10, -12. When a user posted pictures they found of Wallace online in the pro-Lively subreddit, the post wasn't just flagged for harassment. The moderators also got a direct message from a different anonymous user asking them to take it down, which read, in part, "This images expose the subject to harassment, putting his family at risk. The existence of these images in the context it's being presented in is harassing in nature, with the intent of instigating further exposure as evidenced by several comments. We formally request that these images and posts be removed immediately. Thank you for your assistance and cooperation." On Reddit, individual accounts have public achievements that document account milestones. The account asked for the pictures of Wallace to be removed was created in 2022, but only actively started using Reddit in January. The account had no posts when I checked it. The moderators didn't think the pictures of Wallace constituted harassment, but they felt coerced. We did end up taking the post down because we were just kind of creeped out, and it's a weird situation, one of the moderators said. We also want to protect our subreddit. It struck me that the evidence they collected on Reddit after Lively filed her lawsuit was in service of suppressing information related to Wallace and Friedman, as opposed to Nathan or Abel. While reading a cease and desist letter Lively's lawyers sent Friedman in late December, which was filed in court in late January, I learned that Wallace and Friedman were already apparently very close before August. Nathan said that to Abel in a text message that month, asking to add her in a group chat with Wallace, just in case you need him to connect you to Brian. Friedman is also representing Nathan and Abel. So who is this mysterious Wallace anyway? According to an anonymous source who spoke to Variety, Wallace is a Ray Donovan-type fixer employed by powerful people. An anonymous entertainment executive told Business Insider Wallace is, quote, the guy you hire if your kid is stuck in Bolivia or something, end quote. Friedman said Wallace has the skills and resources to coordinate a medical evacuation in remote Italy. What I found in my own attempt to reconstruct Wallace's resume from press releases, reporting, and internet breadcrumbs was far less cinematic, albeit apparently legal. Wallace is listed as a media contact on press releases for dubious medical innovations from ayahuasca. I feel like I'm saying that wrong. From ayahuasca practitioners. For the uninitiated, that's a psychedelic drug popular among West Coast elitists. Business Insider reported that Wallace represented Twitch streamer and Hall of Fame idiot Aiden Ross. When a running forum suspected a TV journalist was faking a run across America, one forum member posted emails he said the journalist's PR guy, Wallace, exchanged with him about the forum's discussions. Oh, and in 2022, Wallace settled a lawsuit with Jackass star Bam Margera, who accused Wallace of administering an inhumane substance abuse treatment to him without training or credentials. Wallace denied the claims. I can see why Wallace and Friedman would have crossed paths, since Friedman has represented a bevy of lowbrow figures accused of wrongdoing, from Perez Hilton and David Dobrik to Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly. More on that in part 2. Let me just check the chat. I'm doing a lot of reading. Aiden Ross jump scare. Of course, Aiden Ross is here somehow. It made so much sense, but I had no idea. I was not prepared for it. Yeah, I knew I was, but then I couldn't figure out how to actually say it differently, so I was like, okay, whatever. Yeah, the guy you hire if your kid is stuck in Bolivia or something. That anonymous entertainment exec quote is so specific. It is so specific. It's so specific. As I dug into the downvoted posts about them, I came across a 2018 research paper on political and apolitical Reddit vote manipulation, co-authored by University of South Australia PhD candidate Mark Carman. Carman told me he got interested in Reddit manipulation during 2016 when pro-Trump subreddit r/thedonald kept appearing on the platform's front page of its most popular posts. As an example, Carman said it's possible for film studios to get a new movie trailer on Reddit's front page through paid vote manipulation that targets content with upvotes, not downvotes. If a post received even just 10 inauthentic upvotes soon after it was published, he found that it would perform dramatically better than other posts. So it could be used commercially to get your stuff upvoted. It could be used politically to get your point of view upvoted. Carman said, it's like a self-reinforcing loop. Once something is popular, it's popular because it's popular. In his research, Carman said he paid for an upvote service that charges per upvote, something like 10 cents each, that he said likely utilizes human labor in countries like India. He said services offer downvotes as well, with a similar time frame that my Reddit sources described witnessing. I found that most of the votes started applying after about 10-15 minutes, Carman said, but they couldn't guarantee they'd all be applied until up to about an hour. When Carman was doing this research in 2018, he said there wasn't a lot of Reddit research in general, and he couldn't identify a specific astroturfing campaign, just the methods that could be used for them. A Reddit spokesperson said the landscape and tooling to combat manipulation of the platform have evolved since 2018. They said Reddit looks for widespread patterns of behavior versus individual upvotes and downvotes on posts, and that the platform found no signs of scaled manipulation relating to Lively and Baldoni. I don't believe they actually looked into it, frankly, if they didn't find that, because I could find that scrolling around like right now if I wanted to. We also take action against anyone who claims or advertises that they manipulate Reddit, the spokesperson said. They said that there were some downvotes in the communities I flagged coming from suspicious users, but that Reddit's automated systems discarded those votes. Which, like, if they had, then they wouldn't all be downvoted to negatives. Yeah, I don't get it. Since 2018, Reddit's active user base has more than doubled, and its anonymous forum threads are significantly more influential than they were in the 2010s. Some people add the word Reddit to Google searches to find information from presumably real people on the social media platform versus CEO-driven slop. This trick became so popular that Google began scraping Reddit with content for its own AI, which has replaced top search results with AI-generated answers. Reddit threads have a bigger impact than ever. My view of systems like Reddit is that, yes, it's easy to manipulate, Carmen said. After the New York Times piece, Abel posted in a private Facebook group that her team didn't have to implement anything related to the social combat plan because the internet was doing the work for us. Anyone could be responsible. When Nathan pitched Wallace's services to Baldoni, her text described them as most importantly untraceable. Lively's legal filings have implicated Wallace in her retaliation allegations. He, in turn, sued her separately for defamation in February. His lawyer and Friedman are betting she doesn't have the evidence to definitively link any social manipulation. Sorry, I'm reading too fast. His lawyer and Friedman are betting she doesn't have the evidence to definitively link any social media manipulation to their clients. They didn't respond to my requests for comments. Wallace's strategy has been to lay low. He's barely mentioned in Baldoni's lawsuit. Friedman, meanwhile, is on offense against Lively. I'll unpack that more in part 2. And then we've got, she again says that she has a members-only chat, and for discussing the case and her findings, consider subscribing for $5. You'll also support her journalism and get access to paywalled stories, including one coming later this week, with her Diary of a YouTuber commentary tour across the United States. If you can't afford the subscription, just send me an email. You can also sign up for free. And that's on her. That's all on here. Again, I have the link to this in the description, and then she linked out to Who Trolled Amber, produced by Tortoise, the outlet that broke allegations of sexual abuse against Neil Gaiman. This series is about social media manipulation around Depp versus Heard, and I was interviewed in one episode. A podcast episode I did about Blake Lively with my good friend Matt Bernstein of A Bit Fruity, which we've already been talking about. We love that one here. We filmed this on the day Baldoni filed his countersuit, and by the time we were done, I could already see the tide turning against Lively on social media again. Taylor Lorenz wrote this piece for User Mag back in December about the damage done when the media won't use the word misogyny when reporting on this case or others. User Mag also broke that Ashley St. Clair is suing Musk for custody of their child. Thanks for reading this far, and stay tuned for more. And then that's it. Also, I think it's great she plugged Taylor. I love Taylor. So yeah, I loved this article. I thought that this was a really good piece, really well put together, and I think that it's great to focus on something other than people's hatred of Blake Lively. Like, I think that's really great. Yeah, I love that. So yeah, we just finished reading that. And I think we've got do we want to look at Taylor's? I think we should read Taylor Lorenz's as well. So this is from User Magazine. You can also, well, I said magazine, it's just User Mag. You can also subscribe to User Mag. I will I'll put this in the description later, but I'll just throw it in the chat for now. Oh, it's too long for the chat? Oh no. Okay. Well, I will put this in the description, but it's linked to in the link that is in the description. Yes, I adore Taylor. Actually, if you're not already subscribed to Taylor's YouTube channel, you should, because I'm on an upcoming episode of her Power User podcast where we spoke about the misogyny slop ecosystem. Really, really excited about that one. I think it comes out this week. It's from before I had my haircut. But I'm very, very excited about that. I'm a huge fan of Taylor. I was so excited when she reached out to me. She had like shared my channel on Blue Sky and was like, oh, she's doing excellent work. And I was just like, I was so happy with just that. So when she reached out to me and asked if I would be on a podcast, I was so excited. Yeah, let's go. So let's read this. Why won't the media use the word misogyny? Misogyny is at the core of these smear campaigns targeting women, yet news coverage consistently avoids naming it. And this is from December 23, 2024, so it's like right after when Blake's lawsuit was coming out. So this is again, like, Taylor is always early on these things. I really love Taylor. Throughout the press tour for the movie It Ends With Us, star actress Blake Lively was villainized. Once seen as a wholesome and popular celebrity, the public turned on Lively. In a seemingly endless stream of articles, tweets, TikToks, and other online posts, Lively was painted as controversial. She was deemed rude, ungrateful, a high-maintenance nightmare, and a generally terrible person. Years-old, unflattering clips of Lively were surfaced. Anonymous gossip accounts villainized her, and she was savaged in headlines. Now, it turns out that the public cancellation Lively endured was seemingly the result of a well-funded PR effort to smear and discredit her so that the concerns she raised about It Ends With Us film producers Justin Baldoni and Jamie Heath's alleged misconduct wouldn't be taken seriously. Lively is suing Baldoni and the team behind the movie for orchestrating the online smear campaign after she spoke out against sexual harassment and inappropriate behavior on set. According to the suit, Baldoni subjected Lively to unwanted kissing, discussed his sex life, including encounters where he said he might not have received consent. Heath allegedly showed Lively a video of his wife naked, watched Lively in her trailer when she was topless, and repeatedly entered her makeup trailer uninvited while she was undressed, along with Baldoni. You can read the full list of allegations here. They are disturbing. In response to her speaking out, Lively alleges that Baldoni orchestrated a multi-tiered plan using social manipulation to ultimately destroy her reputation. But since details of the smear campaign broke, initially in a big feature in the New York Times, then subsequently in dozens of articles on major news sites, not one outlet has used the word misogyny. Misogyny is almost always at the core of these smear campaigns targeting women, yet media coverage of these coordinated attacks consistently avoids naming it. This erasure is part of a pattern. When high-profile women challenge power structures, call out abuse, or loudly express progressive values, they are met with calculated, well-funded campaigns to discredit and destroy their reputations. The legacy media, when it does cover these sorts of attacks, which is exceedingly rare because the burden of proof is 100% on the women and most targets do not have the resources someone like Lively does, almost never centers the misogyny. By refusing to explicitly name misogyny when covering these campaigns, the mainstream media minimizes the systemic hatred behind these smear efforts and enables the very type of harassment they purport to critique. Lively's case, much like the vicious smear campaign against Amber Heard during her legal battle with Johnny Depp, reveals a well-worn playbook. Baldoni and Heath even worked with the same communications consultants who Depp hired to discredit Heard. Even these consultants acknowledged the misogynistic nature of the hate Lively endured. Socials are really ramping up in Baldoni's favor. She must be furious, one comms consultant wrote to another member of the team about Lively. It's actually really sad, because it just shows you have people really want to hate on women. Lively's detractors leveraged social and news media to smear her professionalism, personal character, and even her unrelated business ventures, like her hair care line. Terrakeet, a marketing consultancy who produced a report on public sentiment for Lively following Baldoni's campaign, concluded that she was subject to a targeted, multi-channel online attack similar to the one against Heard and that it was destroying her reputation. After analyzing the entirety of a Google search index for Lively's name, Terrakeet found that 35% of the results mentioned Baldoni, which was extremely unusual given the length of her career. I think about that all the time. Literally just, the fact that a guy gets to just make it so that every piece of media coverage, everything that somebody thinks about a woman is about this guy who harassed her and is now retaliating against her, that is so fucked. It is so fucked and bleak and dystopian. The firm ultimately suggested that the media environment was being manipulated, according to the New York Times. Meanwhile, Baldoni, amidst mounting allegations, co-hosted a podcast along with Heath called Man Enough about toxic masculinity. He was framed as a champion for women in news articles. Earlier this month, Baldoni received an award by the nonprofit Vital Voices for his supposed allyship to women. At the heart of every misogynistic smear campaign lies a readiness by both society and the media to vilify women. On Monday, one of the publicists involved in the campaign spoke out, saying that they didn't even have to enact a social combat plan because the internet was doing the work for us. Powerful men can outmaneuver accusations with strategic retaliation, while women risk everything by speaking out. Men can lean into being perceived as controversial, difficult, annoying, or unstable, while the same labels are career-ending for women. And then we have a tweet from Ashley Wright, who I adore, by the way. Most of the women the media told you to hate probably didn't deserve it. It's very easy to make people hate a woman, especially if she's kind of annoying. Taylor continues, as I wrote in my book, Extremely Online, The Untold Story of Fame, Influence, and Power on the Internet, so many of these campaigns against high-profile women utilize the Gamergate playbook. Gamergate was a coordinated, deeply misogynistic harassment campaign that relied on manufactured outrage cycles to terrorize women, frame them as controversial and difficult, and drive them out of the video game and media industry. Gamergate was a watershed moment in online culture because it provided a blueprint for the weaponization of social media platforms to spread hate, exploiting the legacy media's ignorance of online culture and its tendency to take things on the internet at face value. The Gamergate playbook relies on leveraging networked harassment to launder bad faith attacks and smear campaigns through the media. I'm so sorry, I just lost that in the middle of it. The Gamergate playbook relies on leveraging networked harassment to launder bad faith attacks and smear campaigns through the mainstream media in order to drive women and marginalized people out of positions of power by framing them as controversial, untrustworthy, or difficult. Lively's lawsuit details how this playbook was run on her. And yet, despite the fact that misogyny is the central element of Gamergate-style attacks, news media refuses to call it what it is. This has led to a deep ignorance among the public on what fuels hate, and has made the majority of people unable to recognize these smear campaigns while they're happening. Have there been any notable male smear campaigns? I can't think of any where a man was getting whacked unrightfully. One X user posted in a tweet that amassed over 1.5 million views. As many attempted to explain in response, there are no equivalent campaigns against men because men do not suffer misogyny. Misogyny is a gendered weapon. While men in the spotlight may face criticism, it does not devolve into the kind of vitriolic, deeply personal, and sustained attacks designed to humiliate, discredit, and silence women. Men are not scrutinized in the same ways that women are. They are not subject to the same avalanche of gendered threats and abuse. By failing to name misogyny as the central force furthering these campaigns, the news media perpetuates the idea that this is just how fame works, rather than how misogyny works. Articles that networked smear campaigns against women as backlash or controversy intentionally mislead the public and further stigmatize the women involved. I missed the word frame. Articles that frame networked smear campaigns, etc. The news media must evolve and start reporting on these campaigns and the gendered hatred behind them accurately, because these attacks don't just happen to celebrities like Lively. The same bad actors, law firms, comms consultants, and radicalized online networks that smear high-profile women in entertainment are smearing women in journalism, using the exact same tactics to try to discredit them and drive them out of the field. To make matters worse, male media reporters at major outlets often participate in and launder these smear campaigns against female colleagues. We need more robust, nuanced reporting on these online campaigns, and we need to be transparent about the hateful ideology that fuels them. Avoiding the term misogyny only validates the very forces that journalists should be exposing and dismantling. I will say it again. I adore Taylor. I think that was a really good article, and I think that she put that out so early into the way that people were talking about this. But yeah, I think this is great. Yeah, no one wants to believe they've been manipulated. True, yeah. Okay, Scoops, why are you here then? Did you not see Justin Baldoni fans DNI on my things? I don't understand why you show up to the chat to try to argue with me. You could simply leave. No one is contesting that she has been problematic, but you must admit the hate is overwhelming and seems boosted artificially. But you can't do that if you want to sit here and pretend like women deserve everything bad that comes to them. You can't. You have to sit here and be like, well, actually, what if everyone is overreacting? And I was correct that I hate a woman. But again, I'm not interested in that. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to stream and talk to the people who want to talk to me. So it can still be smear if it's true because they are paying people to dig things up and then artificially boosting negatives about her as well as collaborating with media and to spin a negative. Yeah, I think this is just somebody who doesn't understand that we don't want that kind of we're not interested in that kind of shit here. Like, it's you can do that shit anywhere else on the internet. Anywhere else on the internet, you're gonna get probably like a couple thousand likes if you say some shit about how what's happening to Blake Lively is her fault. But not here. Not here. I don't have to let you do that here, and I won't let you do that here. Thank you, Sunny, for banning. Yes, it's being used to silence her for sexual harassment as well. It's not just criticism. If this wasn't to silence her, like, I would not be, if she was just getting bad press, like, am I sitting here and being like, Jennifer Lopez, nobody's allowed to poke fun at Jennifer Lopez because you have to be nice to her because she's a woman. Like, I do think that people are crueler to Jennifer Lopez than they would be to a celebrity who's not a woman. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's literally not that the issue here is that people are not huge fans of Blake. But I will say again, and because I talk about this a lot, remember, like, 2 Met Galas ago? Do you remember that? Because everybody, for the Met Galas, up until, like, the last one, was always waiting for Blake Lively to show up. They always thought that she was very well dressed. And then suddenly everybody hates her clothes because we were told we hate her clothes. Everybody always thought she's a mean girl because we were told we've always thought that she's a mean girl. And also, okay, listen, you know me well enough to know that I will never defend the fact that this woman got married on a plantation. I think that was bad. I think that was wrong. I think that was racist. And I think that was ignorant. However, how about Justin Baldoni also being a fucking racist? How come nobody's ever talking about that? How come this man has been sued over racial discrimination at Wayfarer as well, as a separate thing from the Blake Lively thing? And nobody's talking about that. Is that not racist? Like, I'm not saying that getting married on a plantation is not racist, but I am saying being so racist that you have to settle because you're being racist at your little Wayfarer place, I think that's racist. I think that's racist in a way that people who are throwing around Blake would care about if they were consistent about the kinds of things that they care about, but they're not. They care about having a reason to hate a woman. Yeah, Justin Baldoni's problematic law aspects, his lawsuits, questionable morals, etc., just aren't being talked about in the media. Right, it just doesn't matter at all. The Notebook was filmed at that plantation. Yep, I don't think that it is okay that she got married there just because it was in The Notebook, but like I can completely understand a read of that where it was ignorance and not maliciousness. And I don't think that that means that it's not racist. I don't think that that means that that's something that she needs to be forgiven for, but I do think that it is ignorance and that I can't excuse Baldoni having to settle for being racist at work with ignorance the same way that I can say, okay, Blake apologized and knows now that that was ignorant and wrong. And yes, I've never ever seen anybody give shit to Ryan Reynolds for getting married at a plantation. It is as if Blake Lively got married there alone. Like, it is bizarre the way that people weaponize this. They don't weaponize that against Reese Witherspoon either. Reese Witherspoon also should not have gotten married at a plantation. But she did. And that doesn't permanently preclude her from everybody's empathy. So weird to only bring up her racism to shut down her sexual harassment allegations when no one seemed to care about it at all. Same with Tana, like, how can you criticize without saying that she must be lying about sexual harassment? Right. No, it's women have to be lying. And if we found a reason that we think that we don't like her, then it's totally okay. Totally okay to decide she's lying. Also, this was a while ago. I do not know if this person is still in the chat or not. Somebody asked me about the Daniel Green, Naomi King thing. I think that that's not something I want to make a video about because I think that Naomi King seems to be like in crisis, and I'm just like hopeful that Naomi does better. But I do still support Naomi, and my understanding of everything that went down, though I did lose track a little bit. My understanding was that Naomi never recanted the allegations. I saw Naomi apologize to victims, but Naomi apologized to victims after Naomi was told the way that every victim who tells anything is told, you're making it harder for real victims, you're hurting real victims. And so, like, I don't think because somebody responded to that it means that they're lying. And I do think at some point I would actually really like to make a video talking about this rhetoric of, like, so and so makes it so much harder for real victims, because like who is making it harder for real victims? Is it this, insert victim here who you disbelieve and don't like, or is it you who's running around and saying, "Oh, thank God, this gives us a reason to not believe women in the future. This gives us a reason not to believe people when they come forward." Like, I think that you yourself, by running around and saying so and so is doing so much damage, I think that that is more damage to victims than what somebody, even if somebody was lying, could ever possibly do to victims. So I have like very very wrapped up feelings about that. Like, it's just, I think people kept asking for more and more details, and it's that thing where I say, like, people are asking for more and more details because what they're actually asking for is enough details that they don't have to keep believing the victim. And I think that's very much what happened. Like, I think Naomi continued to explain themselves, and then people were like, wait a minute, I made something up in my head that didn't sound like that. And I just really hate that. And even some people who I really like have been like, oh, Naomi was lying, and Naomi said they're lying, and Naomi never said they were lying. Naomi, like, I don't know. Anyway, I just, yeah, I don't think it's a great idea to make a video about, just because I feel like I'm pulling a bunch of attention to this thing where this person is struggling, and where it's like, but I also, maybe I should talk about it because people are only talking about it in the bad way. I don't know, but that's where I am at. That's where I'm at with this. Yeah, what people don't realize is that by pointing out this so-called damage, they're generating that damage. Exactly, that's the thing. Like, I say this actually because I just watched the draft yesterday of my podcast with Taylor Lorenz, but I said I don't think Blake Lively is I don't think Blake Lively is lying, but I also think even if somebody was lying, I don't think that choosing to make content about a woman, or somebody who's perceived to be a woman, lying about sexual harassment allegations or sexual assault allegations, I don't think that would be like a politically neutral thing to be like, hey, here's an example of a woman who lied because women lie. You know what I mean? And so, like, I feel like a lot of people, like, have this idea that like because I want to talk about allegations, I should also talk about allegations if they're false. But like, not only do I not think that these allegations are false necessarily, because I think it has always sounded like what Naomi was explaining was like a complicated thing that they came to a different understanding of after the fact, and that there wasn't like a full description of consent, because like there was not. Even when Naomi mentions that they said I could do that about money, there's never a point where either they or Daniel are defending by saying, and then we actually had a conversation. And so I haven't heard a version of that where Naomi has said, I'm so sorry because actually I consented. I have heard Naomi say, I'm so sorry to victims, and I'm so sorry because I never explicitly called it rape. And I understand that distinction that they were trying to make, and it kind of frustrates me how many people seem to not understand that distinction, just because there are a lot of non-rape sexual assaults. So I think, I don't know, I just I think a main channel video about it is not a great idea, for multiple reasons, because I think it encourages disbelief of women. I think it also would be I think it would be not fun for me to have a bunch of people coming at me and telling me about how I'm just some misandrist who believes that women never lie or whatever. The connection is excellent, but it was certainly not working before. Is it working? Did it Are we here? I'm popping the chat out. Not the basement. There we go. Okay, good. I'm back. Okay, excellent. Thank you. I'm so sorry about that. I don't know why that happened. I hope that it's fine in like the playback. Okay, awesome. Perfect. Okay, awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, Justin does like going into women's spaces. Yeah, he came in, he heard me say to somebody come in, and then he thought that was permanent consent, apparently. Yeah, no, I don't know what happened there. Yeah, the YouTube live streaming application regularly crashes computers that don't have gaming level RAM just for opening a tab. Yeah, it definitely was a I think a bandwidth thing. I got too much stuff open. Okay, well I'm glad I was able to pull it back up. But yeah, yeah, I do think everything's up on Internet Archive about that. Yeah. There's been I've seen very few people, but I've seen a handful of people in like the YouTube drama subreddit who are kind of like taking Naomi's side, and my again, like I don't want to make a video about it. But my inclination is that I do feel like I am on a Naomi's side, and that if I were to feel like I was not on the side of a victim in the future, or somebody coming forward and making allegations like that, I would think that the most responsible thing would be for me to simply not discuss it on the channel. But I don't tend to listen to somebody tell a story of coercion and be like, well, that's not rape. Because not only did Naomi not call it that, but like it did sound like a situation where consent was not properly discussed or respected. But that is off topic from what the actual stream was supposed to be about, because that was my sidebar about the Naomi Green Daniel King thing. But that's it also reminds me of everything. Just reminds me of itself the more that I read and I talk about these things. The way that victims are treated, and the way that victims have to have like this exact story that hits all of the exact beats, and they have to present it in exactly the right way, and there's just a lot there. So yeah, I also think a reason that people are really failing at having empathy for Naomi King is that there's nobody knows how to be empathetic to sex workers. Like I think that is genuinely part of it. The same way that I always call out that I think that a lot of the anti-Amber Heard sentiment is biphobia. Like I think that people are not viewing that correctly, because they're hearing Naomi say that they wanted to that they were a sugar baby for other people and not Daniel, and then people hear sugar baby and they think anybody could have done anything to her. Anybody could have done anything to somebody who calls themselves a sugar baby as long as they pay for it, and that is not how it works. Yes, yeah, the Jessie Gender video where Jessie was essentially like, well, it sounds like this is all really complicated, and like I don't trust Naomi, and so I still like Daniel. That was really disappointing to me. I really liked Jessie. And I kind of understand how Jessie got confused, because all of this is kind of confusing, and especially because like Naomi, again, clearly not having a great time, I think, with their mental health, and so I think that also kind of contributed to the videos being kind of hard to follow. But yeah, I don't personally find it hard to still come down on Naomi's side. Yeah. Yeah, if victims aren't perfectly innocent, they're not victims, apparently. Right. Sexual coercion is a big part of the subtext with Blake's civil rights complaint, as well as violating workers' rights not to have religion pushed on them in the workplace, aka dead dad stuff. I really am waiting. I'm waiting for I don't know if they're gonna have more stuff about this, the way that Wayfarer seems to have been pushing religion in the workplace, but I really think that seems to have been an angle of the way that was an improper workplace. And I think that Blake was probably smart to only kind of hint at it in her complaint by saying like the dead dad stuff and the saging and stuff. But first, I had heard of the situation from Jessie's video, and it sat so wrong with me, even not knowing all the details. People don't allege essay for no reason. Yeah, and I think people, I saw in Jessie in that a lot of the same, oh, this makes it harder for other victims, right? Which is another reason why that kind of like spawned me off onto this sidebar. It's rough. Yeah, I would agree that I like Jessie a lot, but also that there are some blind spots. And I'm sure I also have blind spots, right? Like I know that about myself. So I try to be forgiving when I notice that I'm kind of like coming down differently about somebody who I otherwise think is doing really good work. And I also, I do think that especially with Naomi kind of like retracting some and then not retracting some, it is a complicated enough situation that I don't full on hate somebody for not being able to get their head around it, but I also just I'm never ever going to think that making a video and saying so and so makes it easier for victims to be disbelieved is like a good or responsible thing. Yeah. Yeah, coercion is also really hard to talk about because it's always a ton of small things that pile up over time rather than one big thing you can point to. Yes. Yeah, I wasn't essayed in the most traditional way, but I started a relationship with a guy with full disclosure what I didn't want and wasn't ready for it, and he said he accepted it and then pushed it. So when I say I'm triggered, I feel weird because I wasn't, but I feel like I was and was triggered by it. I don't think that you need to like explain anything at all about that. Like I think that that's totally reasonable, and I think coercion absolutely is like it all falls under this umbrella, and so people feel like they can't say sexual assault unless it was like behind the bushes, and that's not true because there are a lot of things that fall under the sexual abuse and sexual coercion and everything umbrella. And like when you have experiences with like having things violated, I feel like it is easier for you to very strongly emotionally react. And I do think that that's another thing that was going on with this Naomi King thing. Naomi, for those of you who didn't watch the videos, Naomi had like a panic attack in the middle of the video that they uploaded about it. And that then, now that people have decided, without Naomi saying so, that these allegations were all false, people are like, this is so performative. And that's the thing that Jesse really was caught up on, was like, Jesse was feeling like Naomi had performed something, and now Jesse was upset because she felt like anytime people saw a victim crying and having a panic attack that they would worry if it was a performance now. And it's just like, but I don't, it just, yeah, I hate it. I think I understand exactly where Jesse is coming from, but I don't think that those are like good or useful thoughts. And not to be like thought police or whatever, but like I just think that it's not useful to point to a woman and say she is bad, and she is so bad that it makes it harder for people who are perfect good angel victims. And people do that to Blake Lively. People do that to Amber Heard, and Naomi King is non-binary, but they were also doing it to Naomi King. So hard to recognize coercion, especially when you have a lot of experience with the R word and SA. It took me way too long to recognize my ex did that to me. That's the other thing too, is like and that's why I was really surprised and disappointed to see Jesse make the video that Jesse made. Because Jesse had tweeted like, oh, I really need people to understand that thinking that you had given consent immediately after an encounter is not the same thing as actually having had the opportunity to and willingly giving consent. And I was like, oh, Jesse gets it. This is great. And then I saw Jesse uploaded a video, and I was like, okay, good. Maybe somebody else is going to be saying the things that I'm hoping are here. And so I watched it, and I was just like, oh no, oh, this is disappointing to me. I understand questioning why leave it in the video when editing it because they feel it's weird, but nothing about the panic attack itself felt fake or performative. I didn't think so either. And I also, but I did have a thought when I watched it of like, wow, this is really disappointing. Like this is, or not disappointing, but like this is really heartbreaking. This is really hard to watch and feels really authentic. And then I also had the thought of like, I almost wonder if they would be getting as much support as they were if they hadn't had that really authentic thing in there. And it's like now it's like a boomerang, and it flashed back around into now that's a cudgel of attack, and not just a cudgel of attack, but like a cudgel of attack from people who normally don't see themselves as misogynists, who are like going out of their way to absolve somebody. And also, I would like to note that Daniel Green's defense of himself was completely weird as fuck to me in a way that has nothing to do with any inconsistencies in Naomi's story. I think it's weird as hell that he brought his fiance on to talk on the video. I mean, like, I guess okay, whatever, but like she was clearly reading from a script. Had a roommate be like, oh yeah, he had a Tinder date, but the lady didn't look like she was assaulted. Like, what the fuck? And also, again, his story jumping from, I for sure didn't assault anybody because I was there visiting my dying dad, to, I didn't assault anybody because I was there, but I only just went on some Tinder dates. Like, I'm sorry. If you were going on dates with women from the internet, and one of them during that time frame is saying that she has allegations against you, and also somebody else is saying she has allegations against you, and your first thing was to lie and say you wouldn't be dating anybody while you're there for your dad's funeral or while your dad is sick, and then you're saying that you did go on dates, I don't think that there's like, again, I don't understand this rush to absolve somebody. Like, I think that his response did make him look shady. I think this other video that he uploaded where he was like proving Naomi King has like malicious intent, that's also shady to me. It has like a screenshot of like just a portion of a conversation. And it does like, I mean, the conversation that was screenshotted does seem to be Naomi saying like, basically, I'm not done bringing forward my allegations. But like, the way that he used that very specific screen was just so weird. Yeah, I hated that whole thing. I hated watching it play out. I hated watching everybody jumping back and forth from supporting Naomi to supporting Daniel and seeing even Jesse Gender do it. That was disappointing. Yeah. I didn't watch his response, but having his partner speak for him is very suspicious. Men love using the women in their lives to dismiss situations like these. Yep. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. I don't trust that guy as far as I could throw him, and I don't think I could throw him very far. I legit sent a screenshot of the Jessie post to my partners because I've been coming to terms with my own shit from a couple months ago, so hearing she's on the wrong side of this is so disappointing. It is very disappointing. Yes, I'm sorry. I think I did flub, especially when I was comparing Naomi to Amber and Blake. Naomi uses they them pronouns. Yeah, I had really appreciated, like, I sent the Jesse screenshot to my friend Marty, and I was like, Marty gets it, and Marty was like, sorry, I sent it to Marty, and I was like, Jesse gets it, and Marty was like, Jesse always gets it, and I was like, yeah, and I'm like, I think Jesse almost always gets it, but that was disappointing. Yeah, we love Marty. um, yeah. Sorry, I had somebody had asked me about it in the chat like a long time ago, like before I even started reading the articles, and then I was like, as I was kind of settling here, I was realizing what I was thinking. But yeah. That's kind of where I'm at with this. I do think maybe clipping it is not a terrible idea because I do think people are probably curious, but I also think I maybe should rewatch before I like have an official take on it. But like my official take is always going to be that I'm never going to find a way to discredit a sex worker or somebody who's coming forward about sexual assault or coercion or anything like that. I'm never going to find a way to do that, and even if I did find like something wasn't credible, I would not make a video to say how it's not credible. Daniel Green's situation reminds me of Destiny, like a man purposefully preying on mentally unstable women to bring it into question if they speak out. Yeah, I could see that. I said my hello, now I need to get back to catching up with your last few streams. So glad to be a part of this while you. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for showing up. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Yeah. So that's those are the two articles that I had, and then that Naomi King sidebar. But yeah, I'm definitely still keeping my eye on it because I don't know for sure if it's done developing. I really hope it is. The last update I saw, Naomi said that their friends were bringing them to the hospital for inpatient treatment, and that they were gonna be offline after that. And I think not in terms of like they were doing harm to victims, because I don't think they were, but I think that it was doing harm to themselves to have people coming at them for more and more information and then refusing to accept whatever that information was because it made them stop being believed. Commented on Jesse's video about how quickly everyone turned on them and calling them a liar and nothing was bad, and she liked it, so maybe she's coming around. I definitely could see Jesse like making another video and being like, hey, I was being emotional, because again, like I said about understanding why Jesse felt that way about the panic attack, even though I don't feel that way, and even though I think that the panic attack seemed very, very real, I do understand, because Jesse was explaining like that Jessie herself had like included a real panic attack in a video and worried that worried that people would now think that their panic attack was fake. So like it makes sense to me how they got there, but I wish that that had maybe stayed a Patreon video until she had thought about it more, because it doesn't feel like a take that she will remain with in the long term, or at least I guess I have to hope that. Nicole, Ophi, if I were to draw fan art, what's the best way for you to say? Oh, thank you! Thank you so much. I love fan art. I have a channel email. It's ofidoki.yt. You can find it on my channel about, for like the channel description, ofidoki.yt@gmail.com. And then I also have Blue Sky. So if you wanted to tag me in something on Blue Sky, I also see things on Blue Sky. Thank you so much. That's very exciting. Yeah, Jessie generally has the courage to question her own opinions and listen to criticism, so let's hope. I think so too. Yeah. So I do want to stream again a bit later, I think. I once again have like streamed for a while and now I'm realizing that I'm very hungry. So I think I'm going to get some food, and then I think when I come back we will do more of like watching together things, since this was a reading stream. But I'm not necessarily feeling like I need a nap, so I think I am just gonna eat and then come back. So I'll probably be back in like about an hour or so. Just give myself a little bit of a break, get my mouth a little bit of rest. But I will be back later on tonight if you're looking around for something to watch. I would love to hang out again. I love hanging out with you all, and thank you for showing up. Make sure that you subscribe to Kat Tenbarge at Spitfire News. I really, really love her. I love the work that she's doing. I think she's doing such important and incredible work, and so make sure that you are subscribed and support Kat Tenbarge in everything she does, because we love her. Okay, I'll see you in a bit. Bye.